Perfect. There we go. You may receive a pop-up telling you that the recording is happening. If it happens to you, just press that you're okay or to go to accept, and then everything will be visible on your screen the way we are trying to share it. And Alicia, I will pass it over to you.
Okay, great. I just want to do a quick check. So the screen is not wonky like
Nope.
it was. Oh, it's good. Okay.
It's good.
Perfect. Okay. So it's 1:29 and I wonder if we should, oh, now it's 1:30. Okay. Okay. So I'll just kick things off since we do have quite an action-packed agenda. So welcome everybody to our third virtual showcase session. This session is on digital resource collections, extending learning and critical thinking beyond virtual meetings. Did something weird happen to the screen again?
Yeah, we just saw that you signed out, but that's okay.
Sorry, I was in the middle of reading the sentence. Okay, is the screen okay now?
Yeah.
I've just tried. Okay, perfect. So sorry about that. So just before we, I guess, get into the meat of the material, just a few items here. I just want to introduce also our team. So AlphaPlus is a small little group, but we're really thrilled to have everyone here with us today. My name is Alethea, and I'll be attempting to facilitate or host this event. And then we also have Monica, who will facilitate our tech Q&A, which is later today. And then Tracy will be moderating the chat. And then the other members of our team who aren't here today, but are definitely supporting our project here are Alan, so our executive director, Christine, and Ghislaine. And then we also just want to begin this session by acknowledging, doing a land acknowledgement. So we want to acknowledge the Indigenous people of all the lands that we are on today. While we meet today on a virtual platform, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their cultures. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. And then as for just some housekeeping items, I also want to introduce our interpreters. So we have Gloria and Peggy with us today. So they'll be facilitating the ASL interpretation. We're really thankful to have them with us. Since it's a bit of a larger group, we would just ask that your microphone remain muted unless you're speaking. And then if you can, if you experience some internet issues, you could consider turning your video off, but if not, that's fine to keep it on. And then definitely feel free to post comments, use the chat. So post comments, questions as speakers are speaking, etc., or anything comes to mind, definitely make use of that. And then definitely make use of the reactions too, if you want to give us visual feedback. So in your panel, you should see this in the tray, you should see the reactions icon here. And that will give you the option to select an emoji to give us the visual feedback. This session is being recorded. And so I think that covers all the housekeeping and online etiquette. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest organizations, doing this alphabetically. So the first group we have with us is Frontier College. Very pleased to have them with us. Also the literacy group. So a returning group from the second session and with a different speaker, but very, very pleased to continue learning from their experiences as well. And then we have the Toronto District School Board with us. So that's great. And then I'll get into the actual speakers themselves. So from Frontier College, there's Denise and then Leo with us and their respective responsibilities at Frontier. And then from the literacy group, we have Johanna. And then at the TDSB, from the TDSB, we have Trish. So welcome Denise, Leo, Johanna, and Trish to our session. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us. The agenda for today, just a quick run through. So we've kicked this off and we'll have a presentation section, which will go basically from now until 3 p.m. And then just before 3 p.m., we'll have a bit of a breakout room activity for us to debrief or for you all to chat in small groups and share some learnings or some key moments. Then we'll go for a quick break. And then when we pick back up from the break, Monica will facilitate an excellent tech Q&A, and we'll share a lot of tips related to I think it's Google Sites and Google Sheets. But anyways, I won't give more information, give it away. But it's always looking forward to that. So if that's okay, I will move to then our panel discussion. So we have 3 questions today. And after I guess we'll show each question, I have randomly selected the order in which the participants or guest presenters will speak. So for the first question, I'll introduce here so you can read it on the screen. But it is, how do you share online resources or resource collections to create a space where learners can engage with content and ideas asynchronously and independently? So I'll ask Frontier College to kick things off for us. So Denise and Leo, if you want to go ahead and take it away. I know you have slides as well, so you can just, I think you could just take over and share the slides.
Thank you. I will ask Leo to start sharing our presentation.
If I share, it'll take down the slides. Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Leo. So I'm the community coordinator of adult programs at Frontier College Scarborough, and Leo is our very capable administrator, complementary technical skills, as you will see. And the staff came out of our move from in-person to fully online work with our learners, intended for our tutors. Next slide. So Frontier College, some of you may know, national literacy organization, and we all believe that literacy is a. We work with volunteers to give people, our learners, the skills they need to reach their potential and contribute to society.
Denise. Hi, I'm sorry, it's Gloria, one of the interpreters. I'm not sure, but for me, your audio is cutting in and out. It's really hard to hear you. I'm not sure what the problem is.
Had that problem with your voice. I'm not sure.
We suspect it's probably the internet connection, which may not have impact or influence over, unfortunately.
And we'll do our best.
All right.
The volunteers that we work with are trained, and they're committed with adults who are struggling with their literacy skills. Next slide. So our learners are adults who are 19 and older. They at least 1 year. They have strong speaking and listening skills in English, looking for academic upgrading and soft skills. And there's our LBS. BS now is also called essential skills or skills for success. These learning goals are related to 4 key areas: secondary or post-secondary credits. Often it's the GED, the OSS, gaining or sustaining their employment, pursuing apprenticeship. Often it's pre-apprenticeship where we meet these folks, and increasing independence. Our oldest learner was 86. Next slide. Work on upgrading skills that fall into the levels. There's a pre-level one that is requires different resources than we have. The levels are similar across the OALC that we will see, and PIAC, the Program for International Adult Competencies. Level 1 is the lowest, level 3 is as 4-5, which is the highest level, and we work with level 2 and 3 from really difficult situations for reading well, but not able to manage more complex tasks with that. Next slide. At Frontier College, we put together a student's individualized learning plan, applying the key principles of adult learning to general that will engage the learner in their learning pathway. And it's our tutor, their learner, based on individual needs and interests, which means that is needed to be extensive as well as current. Next slide. Our plan includes the OA competencies, an assessment rubric based on our assessments of literacy and math, and a training plan, as well as the ministry's mild tutors very often help us administer. Next. OALCF, Ontario Adult Guide, wanted to point out here that the competencies are the orange arrows, the reading, writing, then those 3 levels that we looked at, 1, 2, and 3. And this next slide, example of our rubric for writing. Just an example, the actual rubric is longer and has more in it, more detail in it, but this gives of what we're looking to identify the strengths that we're seeing. Next slide, please. And this reading part of the same rubric, where we invite the learner at different competency levels of stories, and they respond to those. That's what the 1, 2, 3, and 4 refer to, that are more challenging as you move from 1 to 4. So out of all of this came the, which allows us to share resources in such a way that the tutor activity or article worksheet based on the needs of their learner. But so are the categories or topics they may want. And importantly for us is for the tutors to undertake a search of resources in as simple, comprehensive a way as possible. And I can't stress enough of this search function and how helpful it is to those who are using. Leo is going to demonstrate how he put this function together and how it works for the. Let me add that tutors can also submit a resource that we will receive before it gets added to the stash. This is a new and exciting, and I'd like now to turn it over to Leo for the demonstration.
Thanks, Denise. So this is the resource that Denise mentioned. This is called the Stash, which is again a resource library that we've created for our tutors. This is done on Google Sheets, which is basically Google's version of Microsoft Excel, except This is free and you don't have to download anything, but you do need to be online to use this. So now I'll be demonstrating how it works. So we have two main subjects. We have literacy, as you can see here, and we have math. And I can toggle between the two resources by using this drop-down menu up here. So here's literacy, here's math. And our resources are categorized by level, by resource name, by resource type, and keywords. And if I hover over the link here, I'll see a little pop-up bubble here. This is a preview of the website where the link will take you. So if I go ahead and click on the bubble, it'll take us to directly to the resources that we have linked. So this is the worksheets for addition, as you can see here. If we hover over the second link, similarly, we have a pop-up, and this will show divisions for worksheets. And if I click on that, again, it will take us to the worksheet that we have linked. So that's more or less how links work on the Stash. For math, we mostly have websites that are linked, but we have more resources than that. For example, in literacy, we have books that we have scanned and uploaded to our Google Drive. So one of our instructors have been kind enough to upload scanned pages of a book that we used in the classroom called Challenger 2, Writing. And as you can see, we have pages upon pages of this textbook. Unfortunately, this is copyrighted, so we're not able to share this publicly. In addition to that, we have worksheets that are created by our instructors. So here, for example, we have reading level 0 to 7. If we click on this, this will take us to the Google Drive of our reading level 0.7 to 1 worksheets. And this is what they look like. So this is a work in progress. We still have a few hundred to upload. So this will expand. So now I'm going to talk about the filtering function we have up here to the top left-hand corner of the screen. So we talked about how to toggle between math resources and literacy. We can filter by the level. So if I type level 1 here and press enter, we have resources that are only level 1 here. We filtered out all the other difficulty levels. We can also, so if we enter 2 here, we, as expected, we get level 2 resources. So we have quite a few resources in level 2. Most of them are worksheets, but we also have things like charts. We have examples as well. So we can keep narrowing down the type of resources that we want. So for example, if we wanted level 2 examples of perimeter, we can add a keyword here. And then I'm going to press enter. Now we have narrowed down our search to level 2 examples of perimeter. And if we put our mouse over the link, we get a preview of the website that will take us to. And as you can tell, this is an example of the perimeter of a square. But say we only wanted, you know, we don't really care about the level or the resource type. We can clear the criteria here, and we can only search by keywords. So say we want fractions, we can type that here. I'm going to press enter, and we have everything related to fractions shown here. Now, fractions is still pretty broad, so we can narrow it down even further. Say you want you know, resources on adding fractions. We can add a keyword here. So we're going to add the word add here. So now we get resources for addition of fractions. We can narrow it down even further. Say we want word problems to do with adding fractions. We can also narrow it down by that criteria as well. So now we have worksheets for addition of fractions in word problem format. So if you hover over here and go to the resource, indeed we have a worksheet on adding fractions in a word problem. So that's more or less on how our filtering system works. Now I'm going to briefly talk about how to update this system, how we can add a resource. So the filter system draws data from these two spreadsheets back here. And adding a resource is, it's fairly simple. You don't need any coding knowledge. So if I wanted to add a resource here, I can directly just add an entry here. So say we want a level 1 demo resource like this, just type it in like so. The link part is a little more involved. If we want it in this format, in a shortened link format, we're going to go ahead and right click on this box, and we're going to choose insert link. And insert link, there's two options. The first one is text. So this is what we see when we enter the link there. We won't see the full website name. We'll just see the word link. And the link part is where we add the actual website address. So I'm just going to use frontiercollege.ca for an example. I'm going to hit apply. And now we have a link to Frontier College. And as you can see, there's a preview of the website that it takes you to. And finally, I'm going to add just a demo keyword like that. And I'm going to go back to filters and go back to literacy. As you can see here, the change is immediately reflected. So here's the demo resource that we just entered on the back end. Now it's on the front end. So we can search for demo, and indeed, we have the resource right here in the filter. So that's pretty much it on the front end side. We can also allow other staff members or team members to contribute to this database. So if we click share and enter another person's email address, they will have editing access to this spreadsheet. And as Denise mentioned, even tutors are able to contribute to this project. So we have a link here to submit a resource. So if I click this link, it'll take us to a virtual resource submission form. So a tutor could enter their name, email, resource name, the level 1, 2, 3, or not sure, keywords, and the actual link to the resource. And once they hit submit, we'll be notified, we'll get the response. And maybe at the end of the week or the end of the month, we'll share these resources with our instructors, and they can approve or disapprove. If they approve, they'll end up here on the stash. So that's more or less it. This is the stash in a nutshell. Denise, is there anything you'd like to add?
Thanks, Leo. Job, and it's been a real pleasure collaborating with everyone on our team. It's a dream come true. I'm so pleased with it, and it's a very helpful thing. I believe Leo mentioned that much of this is proprietary, but in terms of wanting something like this, I think we can be helpful, and Monica is as well, building of the, how it's put together, as opposed to just sharing our particular. But it's a real joy for us to be able to share with our tutors.
Awesome. I just want to sorry, let me reshare my screen. I'm still in being riveted by, I've never been so excited by a Google Sheet before. So let me reshare the screen here. So hopefully you can see that first question. I want to say thank you for sharing that resource, the stash, what you all have done with it. Of course, it's particular and specific and proprietary to Frontier, but I think definitely there were a lot of comments in the chat, and I know a lot of groups would also benefit from just getting a sense of how you set up the filters. And thank you for doing that demo, Leo, where you showed how the filters are pulling from the other sheets. So it'd be great. I think there'll be a follow-up probably with Monica to see what you can hand off and what how others can make use of whatever structure you've built, because I think definitely that would be really useful for other community programs. I'm also very interested in seeing that, so that's great. Thank you so much. And Denise, congratulations on your, I guess, selection. I saw a few people in the comments saying, I need a Leo on my team. so it's a good compliment. So thank you both very much for that. And I guess the next presenter we have is Trish from TDSB. Trish, I'll let you take it away.
Thanks, Alethea.
Yeah.
Yes, Leo, we are all envious of that database. That's pretty amazing, and I'd be very happy to have one of those as well. I have a slightly different approach, and so I'll tell you a bit about me and the program I'm in. My name's Trish. I'm from the Toronto District School Board's Essential Skills Upgrading Program. And most of my instruction for my particular class is done synchronously. I have a lot of emergent readers and level 1 learners, and they're not all independent enough to be sort of launched off with kind of a flipped model where they do the readings on their own and then we come together and talk about them. That's not always successful because some of my learners can't distinguish of, off, and for or from, for example. So they really struggle. So we do a lot of the material together, but I do have them do independent work. Some of them are really keen and they have extra time and they want to fill in some, extra free COVID time, keeping their mind occupied and not thinking about the fact that there's a pandemic all around us. And some of them just learn better independently and like to do things quietly. Some like to just reinforce the lesson afterwards and look at the text and go over whatever materials and do things that way. So my approach was to create a website that I made using Google Sites, which, as Monica said, I think she's going to do a little demo on that after to show you how. So we don't have a set curriculum in our program, so that does give us a lot of flexibility to curate our own resources and curriculum for our classes. And the classes are as diverse as there are, even within a level 1. I've taught level 1 level classes where people are a lot more independent and really reaching out and able to sort of launch on their own. And like I said, others who, 3-letter words, it's really, really, really challenging. They're really emerging. So the website can help kind of create an extra place for them to do some work. Another main thing that I really like the website is video conference is a little bit of a cold medium. We're all used to working in classrooms and being, in person. And if somebody's assigned your class, or if you're the new instructor for a class, as I was for 2 classes last year I stepped into 2 classes over Zoom, never having met a single person in those classes. So they don't know me, they don't know what I'm like, they have no sense of what they're about to get into. They had an instructor maybe that they were working with for a bit and they had a rapport with them and they had trust and they had a rhythm going on, and things are kind of different all of a sudden, and they have a lot of questions and a bit of anxiety, like we all do when we embark on something new. So having a website to have a little bit of a friendly face to sort of introduce you before the actual class can help put people's minds at ease. And I'll show you some of what I'm talking about. We'll show a bunch of different pages from my website as we go through to highlight the different pieces that for me make it useful for supplementing synchronous classes. So as far as the warm-up piece goes, yeah, we're used to having this rapport and our learners maybe already know us. 2 out of 3 classes since we pivoted to online learning, for me, I was the new person. And I really, really wanted, half of what I want is to create a sense of community and trust and love of learning. Like regardless, like separate from the actual material that they learn, I want them to just like come away with an approach of feeling like learning is fun. As we know, so many of our learners come from backgrounds where learning was not fun because of either learning disabilities or other barriers or challenges to the learning environment for them. So breaking down some of those walls and making an environment where learning is fun and it's trusting and it's a good sharing environment is, for me, half of the battle. So yeah, so with that, I feel like your homepage of a website, as well as your About Me section, can really do wonders to help build that sense of familiarity and comfort. So with that, I'll show you my just homepage just to start. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Is there anything that's maybe a little bit here? Can everybody see this okay?
Yep.
And am I going way too quickly, interpreters? Gloria, I guess that's you. Okay, great.
I found your pace fine, Trish.
Oh, great.
Yep, thank you very much. Yeah.
Super. Okay, so here's my main page. Our class, welcome. What are we doing here? Just some friendly photos, not of anybody from our class, just stock photos. Just to sort of prime it and prep it as a safe, comfortable space. So, and then I have a link to the main places where they might want to go, like resources, which is the meat of this website, really. It's mostly like Leo's spreadsheet, a repository for places to go for me and for them to find resources easily. They can click here for assignments and activities and specifics. There's a calendar here, and there's the contact me. And again, I feel like the contact me page is another opportunity to warm up your site and your learners so that they feel more comfortable in the class. So I have a brief little blurb about me, a couple pictures from then and now, and some ways to contact me. I have my text now phone number here and my email. And on the first class, I go through the website with them and I walk them through the main page and the About Me, and I show them a couple resources. Okay, I'll just let you catch up for a moment. So that's the sort of warm and fuzzy stuff. And then they can go here and toggle on the resources and see from the drop down 8 different subsections of where the resources break down. There's a language section, a math section, digital tech and typing, I stumbled over that one, job search and prep, studying and test prep, mind and body, fun and games, other stuff. So most of my class works on language most of the time. I will talk a little, oh, that's the schedule as well. I will talk a tiny bit about math, but because I teach 3 hours a day, it's a 3-hour class. So that means 2.5 hours max on Zoom. So it's really hard even for the people with full day classes to do the math. One of the challenges for math is that even with the same level of learners, their math skills are all over the map. And there's certain concepts like measurement or whatever where there's value added for everyone regardless of their level, but there's other things like specific arithmetic or drills or things like that where some people have never seen a fraction and have no clue what that is, and some people are still working on adding single or 2-digit numbers. So a lot of the math is a really good place where they can do some of the asynchronous learning. But here we are in language. So there's a little table of contents at the beginning, so they can jump to a specific section if they want to. And then it breaks down with the general language, and these are the different sites. So again, some of the same material, a lot of us use from different organizations and within TDSB, but I've just put them in a way for me with the ones that I use the most frequently and that our learners tend to really like and want to come back to. it's sort of like design in general. I do interior design on the side. Good interior design comes down to editing and what you don't put in a space as much as what you do. So there's so much out there, and it's quite overwhelming, probably for learners as much, probably more than it is for us. Curating a list of the most popular things that you use the most often for me was really important, because there's just too much out there. So I only have a few under each section that I include. And these are sites that I have already gone to, that I like, I've used. We've ironed out kinks for the most part. Once in a while, there's one where I don't use it that often, but learners, really like it. But for the most part, it's things that I know. We do a demo in the middle of class. We highlight one or two a couple times a week so that they get used to seeing them. They can recognize the logos at the beginning for the websites. Again, for the emerging readers, they can't read a lot of the copy here. So at least they can see the big icon. And if you only highlight one or two a week or every couple days, then it's not too overwhelming. And then you can come back and reintroduce it to them or review it and see how it's going and ask if they're having trouble navigating the site or if it's useful, etc. And in breakout rooms too, it's an opportunity to spend some time one-on-one with people and say, hey, were there any of these sites that you wanted to visit, or how's it going? And let's watch, and they can screen share. And they're building their digital literacy skills a lot too when they're both doing it with you synchronously as well as asynchronously. The other piece that's important for me in the asynchronous pieces, a lot of our learners are terrified of the internet. They're terrified of like going outside of their comfort zone, and sort of, it's like driving to a place they've never been to. So when they've been there together with you a couple of times, it builds the comfort, and it starts to build their trust that, hey, I can actually find places on the net as well on my own. Some of them are excellent, and their web skills are, don't need any help from me by any means, but lots of them really, really benefit from a little bit of hand holding. And me too, right? Like, we come to these things and, having seen either Monica or whoever's highlighting different sites, it makes me much more comfortable and much more likely to explore after I've had a little preview of things. So that's the main piece. I like things for the reading comp that have audio as well, because especially for the emerging readers, it gives them a chance to listen to the audio to accompany the text. That gives them a lot more independence to explore a reading that they couldn't really do at all on their own without the class. So they can try to read it on their own if they're adventuresome first, see how that goes, then read it with the accompanying audio, and then go back and try and read it again without the audio and try to remember and turn some of those words into sight words for them, and or phonetically sound them out, add them to a journal, words they're struggling with, etc. So that's been a really helpful thing for me too, because some of them are really keen, and at the beginning they would be like, can you send me more things? Can you send me more things? And I did all that stuff and I still have 2 extra hours, and it would be like a catch-up game for me. Yeah. Alicia, I see your little thing there. Does somebody have a question or something?
Oh, no, I just unmuted so that I could give some oral feedback on what you're saying, because I think it's great. I'm trying to see if there's any, I didn't see any questions in the chat, but if anybody does have a question, a specific question, you can definitely post it in the chat. I've been monitoring it to see if there's anything, but I haven't seen any specific related to the Google sites yet.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Trish, this is Monica. Just very quickly, the one question that may not be there, but maybe somebody thinking is that something that others could access or see your website and your collection, or is it private that you're keeping private to your students only?
I could send a link if people wanted. It is generally private because I'm a little bashful also, and
of course.
Like, yep. Also, yeah, like some of the icons I've borrowed from other websites, so it's not a public site per se. So okay. I don't have, yeah.
Okay, no, it's good to know. It's good to know. Thank you.
Share.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Smita is saying, do you share the site only with your class learners as it's personal? So I guess in general, you tend to share it with your learners, but it's not publicly like available that you.
I haven't put it out there publicly. I've shared it with different instructors who've asked and stuff.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you, Trish. It's awesome. I love
Yeah.
it.
cheers,
Yeah.
thank
I
you.
love it.
So again, the math section, the same usual suspects show up that lots of us have, but again, just an easy place for them to find them. And we'll go through and we'll do demos. Everybody's class has challenge with like multiplication drills, for example. Lots of people don't know their basic multiplication, even if they went on and they can do higher math. A lot of them sometimes skipped some of the fundamentals, the foundational stuff. So showing them and going through makes it so much more accessible, and they're excited when they're like, okay, so you can pick like a 1 minute workout, don't make it too hard. You can make it no cutoff if you're really struggling, or an 8-second one if you're already pretty good at these, and start with the lowest level that you're okay with. So we're going to do 3 times tables, and then there's going to be a timer. So when you go through it with them, and they see like how easy it is to do, then they're more likely to use these things. And when it's only a minute long, even little things like those kind of demos really help, because if the default is 4 or 5 minutes, that's too long to sit there and do a math drill. And they're going to get bored or discouraged. So when you can sort of walk them through things instead of just launching them and sending them there, I find that really helps with the level of people who will engage with the sites that you send them to. Let's see. So let me just gather my thoughts for a moment. Oh yeah. So in terms of asynchronous and synchronous, there's a lot of interesting TED Talks also on the web. But if you go to TED's website, I find it a little overwhelming. Like I used to go before class, even 20 minutes before class, and I'm looking around and I was really overwhelmed. There's just so much there, which is great, but sometimes it's too much choice. It's that, the paradox of choice kind of thing. So I curated a couple of short lists of short videos. The first one is for the very non-committal, under 6 minutes long. So on topics I'm interested in and that we tend to talk about a lot in my class. So they can click on any of those and then they'll get a curated list of a few videos that TED recommends on those topics. If they have a little more time, I have a list of 6 to 12 minute long videos and they can choose from these topics. Of course, they can go and explore on their own, but I feel like everybody likes a little bit more of a limited choice. And then more interesting topics if people don't care if they sit down and watch a 20-minute video or something. And at the very bottom, I rotate these, but I have a few really interesting videos that we often will view in class together and then maybe do some writing around and have like deep class discussions about as well. Some of them are really good because they're really motivating. Like this one's on 3 reasons you're not doing what you say you will do. So whatever kind of concepts I want to strengthen in class, like self-confidence and, overcoming shame of procrastinating or whatever it is, posting things here that this one's about being bullied and teased, especially he has a learning disability as well and all sorts of other challenges. These things help them, feel connected and identify. And it's really easy to just click on the actual video if the list of the topics was too much as well. So that's that section. I have a fun and games section as well, a lot of which is really great for math, reinforcing math concepts that you've taught in class, or word puzzles and working on like cloze activities or just different fill in the blanks, or making words out of, anagramming words. And people like these kinds of things too. A lot of my learners really like that stuff. I also have some hidden pages that are kind of behind the scenes that I don't show the learners, but they're useful for me. So one is a section on lesson planning. One is tech resources, organizers, something on just pedagogy and professional development when I feel like enriching my mind and thinking outside the box, and and video and audio resources. So I've got that whole section there. And then I even have a place where I just dump stuff. I come here and I go to other places and we learn all these amazing websites, and my head's a little about to explode. There's just so much. And when it's during the school year, I'm really overwhelmed, but I don't want to lose those really good links and recommendations. So I have an under construction section, and like, for example, math, and I'll just dump a million different notes and or sometimes links for things that I'd like to come back to, and then put on the main site, either in the teacher page or for the learners. The teacher pages have a lot of the same resources that the learners do, but I annotate them in a way that I might not want the learners to see. For example, language for lesson planning, I'll annotate it and I'll put a note like, has amazing articles, could build a lesson or two around it, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it'll say, oh, this is best if you do this with them because some of the graphics are not really appropriate for adults. This is another big challenge of having a lot of emerging readers, is finding really good content that's emergent reader appropriate without caterpillars and fuzzy teddy bears and things like that, and it doesn't look like it's at home in a kindergarten class, is tough. So some things I'll take it and then I'll turn it into a PDF and remove some of those or hide some of those teddy bears or things like that, or whatever. So it's just got some more notes that are for instructors rather than for the learners themselves. Like this one says there's teacher guides for sections, blah, blah, blah. So I found it really helpful both for me and for learners just to have a repository to be putting everything. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions?
So I have a question. When your students have done really well, do you encourage them to upload their stories on a platform that other children can read too, or other adults can read?
So we do things in class. We do class edits and we have people read their presentations and things like that. I haven't been posting anything on my site, but that's a really good idea.
Yeah, because I think sometimes they have really good solutions to things that are, we don't see, as adults, we don't see them, but children see a solution so quickly.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good idea. We definitely do a lot of sharing in class and editing together as a team editing, which takes the sting out of people. People get used to having their work edited and reviewed, and they realize that writing is a process. It's not, nobody writes anything and like publishes it and it's brilliant. Everybody has edits and edits and edits, and it keeps getting refined as it goes.
Because I have been often asked that, you know, if we would have some material by children for children in the refugee camps. So this was where the idea came in my mind.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So something food for thought.
If their parents and they're agreeable, right? Because I really like how your website is, and I feel moved by it. So I just wanted to share.
Thank you. I thought we were all adult literacy here, so I was thrown a little bit. I was surprised there. So you work with children as well?
So we work with grandparents and children.
Oh.
And adults and children. But if they come from different countries, then the parents don't have the skills. So it's easier. The children then get left out. So we teach the children and the adults at the same time.
I guess like family.
Because they can help each other, right? Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. I think, yeah, it's the Google Sites that you had, Trish, I think it's a great example of a resource collection that can be repurposed for different contexts, like for the adult literacy and for family literacy as well. But I like the tone that you try to, or the atmosphere that you create with, or that you try to create, something that's welcoming, a safe place, inviting, and then the way that you've structured all the resources and curated them. I think that that's like really very useful, the organization. And
Because
also,
it doesn't
yeah.
feel as threatening, right? It feels like you can do it, right? For me, that was my takeaway.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's good, Monica will go over as well. I mean, she won't be able to do a full, 3-hour session on how to build a Google site, but Monica will touch on that in the Q&A to, I guess, get people familiar with how, if you did want to create a Google site, some basic tips. So yeah, but Trish, I think it's awesome what you've done. And I think a lot of the comments were, oh, we wish we could explore your site. And, but we know that it's like, I guess from what we understand, it's reserved for your learners. But I guess Monica will also follow up and see if there's, I don't know, if there's maybe you could make a duplicate of it and remove like whatever information you feel is not shareable. And then maybe there would be a shareable version or something. But I think it's also interesting how you use the sites almost like a interactive Google Doc, like almost like a interactive Word document where you put all your notes and stuff that you annotated and things that you don't necessarily want to be like public facing or like the learners to know, but it's also a workspace for yourself to like build on ideas and have like a brain dump or kind of thing. So that's I've never seen like Google sites being used as that. That's really, really, I think really creative.
Thank you. Well, my thanks goes to AlphaPlus because that's Tracy Mullins. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Who did
indeed, I want to say the same thing
session.
actually. Thank you, Trish. Well, you have really showed us how probably make it more user-friendly. Even I have developed my own site, but your site is probably very fine-tuned. So I've got more motivated and encouraged to probably polish my site. And also want to thank the AlphaPlus team and Tracy, especially last summer, I think we were working on how to prepare Google Slides. And we're all still learning, I think. And I have already published, though mine is available to anyone who wants to, but it's a little differently aligned or organized to Trish.
Yes, again, thank you, AlphaPlus, because that was a game changer for me. I felt like I was hiding my nuts in a lot of different places and under many trees before Google Sites. And I would have like word notes and just docs here and there and even physical scribbles of resources. And now I just dump everything in there, and I feel like at least I know most of my nuts are in one place.
Right.
The best part is that I used to ask my family members how to do this, how to do that. And now when they are doing something and I show the shortcut way of doing things, so they are impressed. So that was a big achievement for me as well. Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Trish. Thank you for sharing your learnings.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I just want to do a quick time check because I know we still have Johanna who will present for this question, and we have 2 questions coming up. And I know we're going to try to break before 3 with potentially a breakout room before. I'm not sure if that would be possible. Monica, you let me know if we should maybe put the breakout rooms after the break. I'm not sure. Yeah. But yeah, we'll see how things go. But yeah, again, that was really awesome. So thank you again for that, Trish. And I think the ones in the audience have definitely echoed the appreciation for that site. So that's great work. So without further ado, I will cede the platform to Johanna. You can take it away.
Thank you very much for inviting us to be part of this 3rd virtual showcase session. We're very excited to be here. So I think one good thing that came out of this pandemic, if there's anything good, is that there's a much wider collaboration amongst LBS agencies across Ontario and even educators across the globe that is a result of this COVID nonsense that we have to put up with. So I think we were all forced to think outside the box and to find new solutions on the double on how to survive. And the result was actually exciting new ways to promote literacy and to empower our learners. I suppose when life gives you lemons, we make lemonade, and that's basically what we all had to do, whether we liked it or not. So yeah. So if I can just start sharing my slide with you guys.
Yeah, go
that
for
would
it,
help,
Trish.
right?
Johanna. Yeah, you can, I think the permission should be on, so you should be able to share your screen, Johanna.
Yeah, let me just see if I can get it up here.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so yeah, that is, we basically, if I can introduce myself briefly, I'm Johanna Brown. I'm a literacy instructor and a group facilitator at the literacy group of Waterloo region. And yes, when we had to look at online learning, I think all teachers and literacy instructors all across the world really share the burden of always looking for new ways to extend their learners' overall learning exposure. And as an educator, I have always taken a great deal of interest in digital learning and the development and promotion of digital skills. I'm a firm believer, I'm sure many of you are as well, that together with literacy and numeracy, digital literacy is a powerful tool in the quest for self-improvement and empowerment. And the benefits of online learning is also that it creates that space for synchronous learning and asynchronous learning. And it also encourages independent and lifelong learning amongst our adult learners. So if I can just have a look at what our blended learning activities consisted of pre-COVID. In our classrooms, we try to incorporate specific URLs in synchronous learning activities. For example, on the smartboard, I would use as part of a lesson, I would call up an online resource. We all know those go-to resources that we all use. I would try and find online interactive exercises that we can do in class for grammar drills or and my colleague Julie also called it up for mathematics drills. Yes, so we also, I created Webquests, and that was paper-based, where I would give my learners a number of, say, for example, I choose a theme, and then how to manage your money, for example, and I will give them a number of websites, URL links on this piece of paper, on this handout to actually go to the website and read up and answer the questions. And then I would have a little prize of chocolate usually. I mean, I can be bribed with chocolate. I believe many people can for successful completion of these Webquests. And another measure that we did pre-COVID was to give them handouts with a standard list of those learning websites and URLs for independent study and also to use as homework. So the problems, unfortunately, we encounter was same as with, I suppose most of you also encountering with adult learners, is the handouts would get lost and our students would not be so keen on digital work at home. They also have limited digital skills and many of them didn't have digital resources. So how to overcome that? I was always on the lookout. In my mind, I always had as an ideal, oh, I wish I could create a website where I can have all my resources available. But yes, I was under the impression that, you know, it's just not doable because of the cost. And I knew about free websites like Google Slides, but I thought, it's going to be too limited in functionality. And what about hosting? That will have to cost money once again. So the solution basically came when in December 2019, we had a site visit at the literacy group in our Kitchener office from AlphaPlus, the lovely Monica. She's also present here. So it was just a week before Christmas, if I remember correctly, Monica, right? So she actually gave us a little overview of free technology available outside, like Jamboard, and she mentioned Google Sites, and she explained, and she actually gave a little demonstration of what it could do and its functionality. And I suppose that was when the penny dropped for me. And I thought, wow, I didn't realize it's actually so functional and you don't have to worry about hosting. So that would solve the money problem for me. So Julie and I, my colleague, the counterpart in Cambridge, our Cambridge office at the time, immediately booked an afternoon training session with Monica. We dragged her back to our office. I'm sure it wasn't really dragging, right, Monica? So to come and share her knowledge and skills and train us on how to do Google sites and how to build our own little website on Google Sites, because we thought that is going to be the ideal, that is the solution we've been looking for, that would replace our paper-based Webquests. It will replace our paper-based lists of URLs that we would like our learners to use. And yes, the end result, we managed to build our own little Google site, the TLG Learner portal or TLG Learner resource. And we managed to finish it up already a month later in February 2020. And we managed to launch this site to our learners end of February already. So our learners were so enthusiastic about this. But unfortunately, we didn't have much time to establish using the learner portal concept with our learners before COVID lockdown took place on the 23rd of March, 2020 in our case. I still remember that fateful day when Chris called us, our executive director said, okay, guys, back up. I need you to back up. I need you to vacate the offices. And like, whoa, what now? I'm sure you all share similar stories. So yeah, in light of the pandemic, Julie and I went to Chris, our executive director, and we said, hey, I'm sure, we're sure everybody's in this together. We're all struggling about what to do, where to go and what to do. So we asked Chris if it would be possible to somehow through the LBS structures like, AlphaPlus, for example, to share this, our little website with LBS communities all over Ontario and wherever. So our resource is open. It is free, it is open, and we do not mind, and we actually welcome anybody who would like to use our resource. Please feel free to use it. The link is absolutely available. If you just go to our website, theliteracygroup.com, click on Learner Portal and you get there, but I'm sure Monica can also make it available for you. So if I can just use this opportunity to just show you, demonstrate a little bit what it looks like. This is it live. We built in a COVID-19 resource page as well, where people can, if I can quickly click on this, we have news updates where people can find the latest news on from the Canadian government. We try to avoid this disinformation and scaremongering, to give people links to trusted information. We also told them about benefits available like SERP, financial and other supports in Ontario. We had a summary here with links and telephone number, contact details of health and basic needs, people, food banks, local food banks, whatever people need here, and also mental health resources. And then we also included a fun page, have some fun online activities, take virtual field trips. There's even in Canada's National Ballet School can learn online ballet dancing. I think there's somewhere even an online dance class or a virtual Disney World trip that you can take. So just to show you that. We also, because of many people lost their jobs, we created a job page and we linked up with other Employment Ontario agencies. We've given a link to the KW Community Employment workshops calendar year. So you can just click here to find the link there. And here's the monthly calendar of workshops hosted by various organizations like Lutherwood and other Agilec and Conestoga College and other organizations. And we also use our little website to promote our own in-house courses like customer service. And then there are the job links like Job Bank, Find Your Job. Recently, the Canadian Mental Health Association also asked us to post a link on our website to contact them. And yeah, basically just giving you a quick idea and a tour through the page. We have digital technology. Anybody wants to upgrade their digital skills, we try to provide links there. Once again, we are using it just to advertise our own internal computer and digital skills course that we offer, our modular courses. And then there are different links to different learning websites that we could find. Once again, just curated websites, various typing tutors. As you can see, even people struggling with Zoom, we try to include, if you don't know how to use Zoom, watch this video if it's the first time you go on there, or click here to learn about Zoom etiquette. And to find out more about Zoom and how to use it, click here. So we try to give different links here. We also use Fillable Pdf in our classrooms. So once again, we're giving the link to how to download Adobe Acrobat Reader so that they can open our Fillable PDF sheets here. And then Quizlet is another popular one as well. We use it a lot for online learning. We're having lots and lots of fun in class with that as well. Just a more open soft, many people can't afford Microsoft Office and things like that. So these are free alternatives, free antivirus software. And I've even had some of my students starting to experiment with some of these more advanced websites like Audacity. And this is also a very interesting one if you want to teach virtual music instruments. I didn't teach it in class, but I know some of my students came back and said, wow, that's so cool. They have been exploring, they've been using this website, our little learner portal, to explore all these different web links. There's one on reading and vocabulary. Once again, we have grammar bootcamps, one of our modular courses that we're offering. And then we just, some promotion about why is it important, some simple reading strategies to help you read here, different reading techniques, top 3 reasons to improve your vocabulary, 10 surefire strategies to improve your vocabulary, some interesting articles. We post some interesting articles there. And then the rest are the tried and trusted websites, which most of you should know, or some of that you already known about, or whatever. Just, yes, we do have ones for children as well, but we have emerging, like everybody else, we have emerging, and it is, like Trish said, it is so hard to find adult appropriate. So we did post it, but when we use it with our one-on-one tutors, we will explain, don't worry about those things. You know, we are just using it for the learning experience. But there are, we found whatever we could find that we think is worth putting in here, we would include here. And whenever one of our tutors and staff members also find anything that's a good link, they will forward it to me and I will include it on the website as well. So under more, we have writing webpage with, once again, with good resources. Many of them will be known to most of you. It's just quick and easy links to find those resources at your fingertips. There's one for math. So what we did with math is we actually created, if you go to this one, we actually curated the videos and we gave the links to the different videos here with the headings. Just to return to the previous site, we did the same with Math Antics. We also highlighted and gave links to the videos, to some of the videos that we like. And for example, a full range of our fraction videos, click this link. For a full range of decimal videos, click this link. In what the other one was BBC Teach Skills Wise, we did the same. We extracted specific links to calculation numbers, percents and fractions, parameter areas, maps, graphs, and measuring. And then if you go back to the main math website again, we say for more math learning activities, try out these excellent websites below. So we listed them there as well. There's some math aids that Trish also mentioned, I think. And yeah, that's basically what it looks like. Whenever, as I said, anybody comes across a website that they feel is a good addition to our website, our little learner portal, they will forward it to me and we will take a look at it, and if we'll we'll give a short description of it and we will post it on our web link. Work and life, this is where we actually added adult skills like really a little bit of everything, medical information, what are my next steps in education, learning tips, education planner assessments, you know, the find your strengths. We also have a 16 personalities, mind tools, career profiles, Ontario skills passport, workplace skills, the Office of Literacy and Essential Skills. This is also a very good one if you, we all know that essential skills is busy changing or going away, but until the government removes that, that's still a very good one if you want to just quickly assess 9 essential skills, maybe just assess the writing skills or digital skills. That's just a quick assessment as well. We have an online WMIS certificate that they can do there. Even driving, there's some for driving if you want to do your G1, get the driver's license.
Yeah, I can tell it's very comprehensive. It has like things for math, literacy, for life, for all these, and
brain games.
Yeah.
There's some fun for brain games and whatever there as well. So
that's awesome.
Take a break there.
That's great.
So
wow.
Moving on, please, as I said, everybody's free. It's open and available to everybody. My husband is in the IT industry, just an anecdote here, and he just for fun, he said, just for laughs, put Google Analytics on it. And that I did that on the 21st of March last year. And to my amazement, I would just go and check the stats from time to time. And to our amazement, we just saw the number of people using this grow and grow and grow. And as it stands at the moment, it looks like we have users on the website of over 44 countries. I don't know how they found the link. I don't understand these things. And there are 1,880 users in Canada using this website, and I think 2,210 people from all over the world using this website at the moment. We are very happy about this, and so we're happy that it could actually help people across the world for empowerment and things like that.
That's awesome that you can make a digital resource collection that is, I guess that's the beauty of having something on the internet where people from all over the globe can access and benefit from the collection. So
it's really
great.
Yeah, we're so happy about the fact that, you know, none of us are in adult literacy for the money, but we're just happy. We're all passionate about learning and empowering people. And from that perspective, we are just so happy that this humble little website of ours actually could help people across the world. We're really, really happy about that.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's great. Thank you so much for that, Johanna. That's great.
So if I can just, I'm going to just stop. If I can switch back to the rest of
okay. You had stopped sharing, so I just took over the screen, but
no worries.
Did you have another slide? Sorry, I thought you had wrapped up. So should I stop my screen, or if you have another slide you wanted to show? Just
Well, no, I basically just wanted to show the rest of my slideshow was really just the benefits of what we found with this little website. So that's really the only other point I want to make, and some of our learner testimonials. Just quickly, 1 more minute to share that. I know we're running out of time.
Yeah. Okay. So you should be able to share it now.
So benefits that we found from creating this little website is it really, with our learners, it promotes enthusiasm for independent continuous learning. We using it online a lot, you know, with virtual classrooms. We're doing interactive exercises in virtual classroom. And we also duplicated this concept of creating these Google sites. We created a tutor portal where we have tutor training and resources for our tutors. We are also using different Google websites to do our modular program delivery. I know even Lisa, our group manager, program manager, is using this to do organizational training. For example, our return to learn policy with COVID. And in my classrooms, I've seen a huge improvement in digital skills. We also we love the fact that this is promoting connections with both our EO and non-EO partners in Ontario. So And then if I can just show some of the testimonials, the presentation will be available through AlphaPlus. You guys can have a look at our testimonials here together. For example, this learner says, I access the learner portal 4 times a week, every week. The TLG site benefits me with many things as I go to English Club to practice my pronunciation and listening skills. I go to Learning Chocolate to study my phonics and I do spelling exercises. I go to Math is Fun to practice my algebra and test my math skills. I go to Bits to practice my reading and listening skills. I go to GCF Global Typing Tutorial to train my keyboard skills. I go to English Maven to practice verb tenses and sentence completion. So this particular student, Mohammed, joined my group in May 2019, and it's been phenomenal just to see his growth. You know, he used to be a shy person, and usually we can't shut him up in class now. He's confident and he is a critical thinker. And I think to me, that is the best takeaway of all of this. We're creating that lifelong learning and that critical thinking that is so important for self-advocacy. So that is all from my side. Thank you very much for listening.
That's great. Thank you very much for ending on the beautiful testimonial. That's great. Thank you, Johanna, for that. I'll reshare the screen. So I think we've wrapped. Sorry. So I think we need to move on to the two that we still have 2 other questions, and I know time is slipping away here. So I'm wondering, actually, we were discussing with my colleagues, and I think if we could try something different for question 2 and 3. So we'll have one person answer this question, and then if others want to add something, then they can feel free to add, but maybe we'll just select a person so that we can try to wrap up. We can, because we're really quite behind, and I apologize. I seem to not be able to manage this. So maybe we'll just ask one person to speak for question 2, one person to speak for question 3, or one program, and then the other programs can add on if they wish to. So if that's okay, so for the second question, we're talking about challenges with building an online resource collection. And I'm wondering if Frontier College, since we had, so just randomly selected here. So Frontier College, if you could maybe kick off and address this question. And then I don't know if Johanna or Trish later you want to chime in, but maybe just have either Denise or Leo speak about, you know, what was your main challenge with building, in your case, the stash?
Start, but I think Leo is better able to address some of the technical parts.
Sure.
The idea of an online resource collection was, or ensure that it was very, very searchable. So what were the tags we needed? What ways that we could make it as streamlined and searchable as possible? So that was priority. But I wasn't the builder, so I'll turn it over to Leo.
Sounds good. Thanks, Denise.
Thanks, Denise. So my challenge with building the stash is, learning how filters work on Google Sheets. I never really had that much experience prior to the pandemic, but ever since everything is online now, really forced us to kind of innovate. So learning the filtering system, the conditional statements, that sort of thing, building that up was a challenge. Another challenge is, bringing our offline resources to online. I know in person we had, tons and tons of worksheets that we used in the classroom, and bringing that online, categorizing it, uploading it, and that takes a bit of time. So it's pretty time consuming.
Yeah.
And that's another challenge that we had.
Wow. Okay. Well, I think we get to benefit from the fruits of your labor, because we saw the part where, I think there's a lot of back end work, and I think the information architecture librarian part is like the nitty gritty part. And I guess, we get to benefit from the fruit of it, but it would be great. I think that's why the resource or whatever you are able to share, whatever is like publicly available, and when Monica is able to share that with the rest of the groups, I think that would be great because we get to benefit from your hard work and finding out what are those conditional statements or how filters work. So thank you for passing on your knowledge to us, to the field. Yeah. I don't know if Trish, Johanna, do you want to chime in with any main challenge, or do you think we're ready to move on to the next question? Or if, feel free to chime in if you want.
I think I've already mentioned my challenge. I didn't realize the full capacity of free software such as Google Sites until Monica pointed that out to us. And yeah, and I also underestimated the capacity of my learners to be able to use this. They've surprised me beyond belief. And I think if I'm busy giving my age away here, I'm a bit older than 29 years old. If you remember the Field of Dreams movie back in 1990, roundabout there with Kevin Costner, he said, if you build it, they will come. And certainly that's what's been the case in my case. We built the website and the learners are using it far beyond my wildest imagination. So yeah, that was my big challenge.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks, Johanna. And I guess, Trish, if you don't have anything to add, I suggest that we move to question 3, where if you're okay with it, Trish, could you kick us off with your key learnings from the experience? Unless I just want to give you the space as well if you did want to add anything to question 2.
No worries. Thank you. I think the key learnings and the main challenges are kind of one and the same. And I mentioned them initially as well, that having emergent readers whose reading capacity is so limited, I feel really conflicted about having a website that I know full well only about a third to a half of my learners can read independently by themselves. So as somebody who's, we're in the work of trying to mitigate the digital divide, and we're very conscious of that. And yet I've put out a website that I know many of my learners cannot independently read. So if I had better skills and could, have some audio in there so they could click on something and have the audio going, whatever would make me feel better. The other one, Leo mentioned time constraints. You only have so many hours to build a thing. And those are my key takeaways, just being flexible. I think sort of like what Johanna was saying, everything's kind of a surprise here in COVID, and we didn't really know what we'd be up against and what we'd be doing, and just being ready to pivot at a moment's notice. And if something's working, going with that. And if something's not worrying about it. And there is a humongous amount of stuff out there, but maybe only so many of them that work really well with our learners. But finding things that work and sticking with them and not feeling like we have to reinvent the wheel or constantly be looking for new, like there's plenty of learning to be had from what we're doing. And the last takeaway, I think, is also being positive and realizing sort of, again, what was said before, helping learners realize that learning outside of the box, doing things in a digital world it's not just overcoming hurdles and obstacles and getting through things, but it can be really exciting, really challenging, and really different from what we offer normally in the physical classroom. We do cooking classes online. We have virtual field trips and self-directed scavenger hunts and guess what happens next videos. There's so many really interesting ways to learn that are really outside of the box and the breadth of what we were doing before. And I think they're learning that too, and it's really blossoming their skills and their confidence, and that they can do whatever, so many things.
That's awesome. I feel like there was this also theme brought up in the second session, where I think the COVID pandemic increased people's creativity around how we can work with learners and using different tools, but also different, I guess, approaches that kind of forced us to go outside the box to reach learners and find new ways of learning together. So I think that's really awesome to highlight that. That silver lining of the pandemic too. I guess, I see a raised hand for Samuel, and I just want to, give if you have a question.
Actually, my question is number 2. Sorry for that.
Okay. No problem.
My question is that as we do know now, there are main websites in Google. When you try to find out some sources and try to make a research or something else, you can get wrong information. It is difficult to know whether the website is legal or the owner of the website is a legal person or legal group. As we do know, there are many different groups or some organizations to create a wrong website for their own purpose. So how can we identify, or how can we know that the website is a correct website or a legal website, or the sources are correct? How can we prove that?
I don't know if anyone wants to, so I guess, sorry to reformulate. So Samuel, your question is, because I guess in the sea of information that's available out there, sometimes there's things that may be less accurate than others, and you're wondering how programs can select or kind of judge whether the information is trustworthy or not to share?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if Johanna, do you have any thoughts around that? Since I know TLG is curating a lot of, like you were saying, when someone posts that request, how do you kind of sort and judge whether or not, okay, we should, put it on? Do you have any things that you keep in mind as you make that choice?
Yeah, I would first investigate the website, and if I think there's any questions around it, I would not include that content. So I try to just go with trusted sources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Trish, did you have something you wanted to add? I saw you pop up on screen, but I'm not sure if that was Zoom or you want to say something.
Not really, other than
Okay.
just to reiterate that, again, it takes time. It's the time piece, right? So just picking something and putting it on your site and recommending it isn't maybe the best idea. It's worth spending it takes a lot of, we have a lot of resources on our sites, and those are a lot of hours goofing around. Are there glitches? Is it easy for learners? What do they say? What do we say? Wait, I got lost here. Why did it send me here? Well, I'm not going to recommend that site. If the grammar's terrible, and that happens too, sometimes it's a good learning opportunity for the group. Oh, we could, even published things make spelling errors, but yeah, curating, it's a time-consuming thing. Googling it to see if it links to lots of other people's websites.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a great point.
Nothing new.
Yeah, and I see Tracy's also posted a website, or sorry, a web page for some tips for curating resources. So maybe Samuel you could hopefully that can help as well. And David has also put in a comment: because of educational use, many items are available. Just email or contact the site for copyright permission. So I guess those are for documents where you'd need permission to share, to rediffuse or reshare. So I hope that's okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Samuel. So change of plans here. We're kind of modifying this on the fly with my colleagues at AlphaPlus. We really appreciate this discussion. As a result of these different interventions and you sharing your experiences. And so we have decided that we'll try to have kind of a group discussion. Well, Monica will try to lead us into a group discussion after the break. And so we will, if it's okay, we will kind of get rid of the breakout rooms for this particular session, just that we don't end up in a rushed situation. So if that's okay, we'll, instead of having the separate groups, we'll have it all together. So we'll have the kind of like group discussion when we pick back up from the break, if that's okay. And again, like Monica said, thank you to all our amazing presenters. We all learned a lot and are inspired by what you have shared. Definitely echoing that sentiment. I really appreciate it. And I have also learned a lot from what you all have shared, and even the participants from the group too. So thank you again for coming and sharing your work with us today. Tracy has a very exclamatory remark too. Thank you, everyone. Literacy workers are the very best. Great. So just before I guess we break, is it okay if we fill out a little form here for feedback? So this is just so to help us. I think Tracy will send the link in the chat. Yes, she has put the link in the chat for the feedback form. It's the third link that Tracy has just shared. So, and this will just help us gauge whether or not our topics are relevant, or if there's some things you'd like to see improved or added, and give us a temperature check on how we're doing for these virtual showcases, if you find them useful or not. So we would really appreciate your feedback just before the break time. So if that's okay. Yeah, Monica, do you think it's all right now to break, or is there anything you wanted to add? Also, all the presenters, please check the comments. There's so many positive things that are being said about you all, and just want to make sure that you realize how appreciated you are for your presentation. So.
Thanks, Alethea, and thank you everyone for joining us. As you know, we try to organize this session into two sections. One is the discussion and the presentations. Then we take a break, and then we do a bit of tech Q&A. So we have that lined up for you for after the break. So if you have time, if you're planning to stay with us, please do so. We're going to take around 10 minutes, 15 minutes break max. And we'll put a timer for you so you know when we are coming back. We also want to make sure that our Peggy and Gloria, our interpreters, take a bit of a break. This has been very interactive and very busy for them. So it's really needed for our support here as well. But when we come back, what we would like to do is just to lead in with a few questions from you. So as you're going on for a break, think about what was the highlight for you? So when we come back, if you want to say something or share something special with us, we'll take a few minutes to have that discussion, and then we will jump into some tech Q&A tips, specifically about Google Sites and tiny bit about Sheets. Although Sheets, I will have more information from Leo later this week. So that may be something that we'll get back to you with as a video recording, or maybe a quick session for those of you who are interested. So we will be following up on that as well. In the meantime, enjoy your break, and I hope you will be able to come back afterwards. I know it takes a few minutes to kind of come back and get back into our learning mode or discussion mode. So during the time everybody's kind of returning and coming back, we thought maybe it would be nice to actually share with others if you have a special sparkling moment, something that you noticed today, something you learned, something exciting from the discussion we had together that you would be willing to share with us. And you can do it both ways. You can post it in the chat, or feel free to unmute yourself and just share that with us. Any volunteers to do that? Quiet on this, and I not everybody is back yet. Loving the hidden pages in Google Sites from Lisa. Yes, absolutely. Trish, you really inspired many of us with your hidden pages, and also how you're collecting the content there and annotating it. Sometimes, we just make a list and drop links on the page, but your annotations and a way to sort of organize that's very inspiring and very, very interesting. So Trish, again, thank you for sharing that with us. Anybody else that has a sparkling moment, something you will be taking away from today that will stay with you or inspire you?
I think for me, the stash, the resource that they had shared was a sparkling moment, because it's very, very differentiated as per each learner or a group of learners based on the levels by using those filters.
Yes, exactly. And when Leo and Denise shared the spreadsheet with us, we were just blown away at how simple it is to use, even though there is a lot of work and thinking that went behind it to make it as simple as it looks, right? But it will be great for tutors, for volunteers, for somebody who is working with the resource pages like that, to make it easier for them as well, even for instructors to choose the resources they're looking for.
Absolutely.
Especially when your list could be actually very long, right?
I think, but my concern now is how much of work we have to put into to develop that. That's probably the question.
And I think Denise and Leo were clear that actually that was the hard, a bit of a hard part, which is trying to organize the information, decide on the keywords, on the vocabulary you use to organize this content, which you may already have, and you just need to reorganize a bit. So this is to not take away from the work they put into it, but sometimes just to see somebody else come up with this kind of solution inspires you to reorganize what you already have as well, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. And Lisa, you're mentioning you're using Google Forms a lot more as well, and HyperDocs. And then Manal, spreadsheets, that's fantastic. I'm just reading off what everybody's putting in the chat as well.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Smita. One more thing before we return to our tech Q&A.
No, I thought you're talking to me, but I said I never said something regarding the Google form. So just got confused. Never mind.
Perfect. All right. So everybody else, thank you so much for sharing. If there's one more person who would like to share something, you're welcome to chime in and just speak up if you would like, or continue adding this content in the chat. We really value that feedback. Again, I think it's great for our presenters. It's great for us to see and share. And also sometimes your sparkling moment may inspire somebody else and become their sparkling moment. So I like to use the sparkling moments as a way to think about a session, or kind of pause for a second and sort of think about what I'm taking away. What was the one or few things that really made a difference for me from that session? Sometimes we just rush off and we don't have a chance to do that. So usually our breakout rooms are hopefully a chance for you to connect with others and do that. Since we are kind of short on time, we hope this here will also give you that pause and a chance to think about that as well. All right, perfect. And now as we are switching back to our session, as you may know, in our tech Q&A, we try to give you some tips and ideas and suggestions for new tools or resources you have learned about. And we knew technically that today we'll be discussing Google Sites. So there's a few tech tips that I'm going to bring in and share with you, but also want to make sure that we navigate to the actual site and show you how some of those tools work. So what I want to start with is really just talking about Google Site, on how it's organized before we get into the tool itself. Because very often, if you understand the platform and how things work in it, it becomes a lot easier to organize and navigate the content. So I'm sharing my screen with you. I really hope you can see my screen at this point. So this is the tip number 1. And what you will see on that is really the slides and content on how we are doing all those things. And when we take a look, you will see that we have different pages organized horizontally and some pages organized vertically. And when we think about documents, so if you think about Google Doc or a Word document, usually documents in there, when you're navigating through them, are organized as a scrolling pages. So you either flip the pages when it's printed, or scroll through the pages when it's on a screen, when you're writing with it. But here on Google Sites, you need to think of the content as pages that are laid out either horizontally next to each other, and if they are, they become the menu items, or vertically, which often they become sub-menu items. But all together, they create the website that you go for content. So if we think about the virtual showcase page, I'm going to use that as an example, just because you may have been going to that page quite a few times already. If you think about the very first page, the home page, it's usually the first one. It will be the first page listed for us. And then if you go to the second item in the menu, you will see sessions. That's why that page is next to the home page, not below. It's actually next to it, because in the menu, it shows right next to the home page. If you continue to the third page, you will see printable flyer. Google Sites organizes your content based on the pages. It just puts them into the menu for you. Now, in the discussion today, we also talked about hidden pages. So we're going to go to that. I added a slide for that as well. For now, I'm just showing you everything that's visible when it's laid out. So when you actually go to sessions, in sessions, you will see that on the page, we organize them underneath the main page called sessions. And basically what that means, those are secondary pages or sub pages. We use each of those to organize content for that specific session. And they're all sitting under the session menu. That's why they're not showing in the menu, they're showing as a drop-down menu, because they're sitting underneath our sessions page. But the sessions itself, because it's a page, we needed to remember to include content for that as well. So it's important to consider that. And on the right side of the slide, you're going to see how Google site actually organizes that content in the layout for pages. So they will say the home is first, sessions is second, the sessions has sub pages, that's why they're kind of shifted to the right, and then the printable flyer is underneath. But in the menu, you really see home, sessions, and printable flyer, and the sessions are subsections or sub pages or secondary pages, however you may want to call it. All right. So I just wanted to make sure that we are clear on that. Questions around that kind of layout or comments maybe? All right. So no questions around that. I'm going to move to the next page, and maybe in the meantime, just before I continue, I'm going to see if I can spotlight myself. I know sometimes it's very helpful. I can't, so that's okay. I'm trying to see how everything works in our cases, and sometimes spotlighting is not as easy as possible. Oh, there I am, perfect, awesome. So I'm going to move to the next page, and the next page on our slides is copying sections. The next 2 pages we have in the slides, I'm going to basically go live and show you live how it works. But I will also want to make sure that I pace myself so that anyone who is following in ASL can also follow that. So bear with me, I'll try to do it slowly. I'm going to stop presenting. That way I'm going to go to our website and I'm going to go to our virtual showcase, okay? And in the virtual showcase, I'm right now in the editing mode. What that means is I'm actually on the page where I have all kinds of content and the pages on the right. That's the pages I was referring to. So if you really look at homepage, in the list of pages is the very first one. If I look at sessions, they're listed under sessions as well and listed underneath sessions shifted to the right. And finally, printable flyer, a page in the menu because it's the primary page. It's also listed in the pages list below. We do have one extra page that we call About AlphaPlus. And if you look at the icon, that icon is just a tiny bit different. What it is actually just a link to our AlphaPlus website. So for this one, we did not create a specific page. We just linked to something else. So when you are navigating the website and you click on About AlphaPlus, you go right to the AlphaPlus webpage. The same way you could link to other websites if you're building your site. But I'm getting ahead of myself. If I wanted to start a Google site, I'm going to show you very briefly for a second how we can do that. Usually, the very first thing I would do is either go and start a new tab or new page in my browser. So I start from scratch, okay? Then I have 2 ways to go to Google Sites. One, I can type in specific address that will take me to my sites right away, like sites.google.com. So that's one way to do that. Or when you're signing in into your Google account, you will see the 9 tiny dots there, or squares for some of you. It will say Google Apps. If you click on that, you may or may not see sites listed here. I do have it because I go to Google Sites a lot. But if you do not see it, that basically means you haven't used it often enough and your Google account or apps is not recognizing it as a tool you're using all the time. That's why it's always important to really do sites.google.com if you're just starting with your Google sites, because not always this section will be here. Okay? All right. So I'm going to type in sites.google.com. If you're starting, just remember that. You just have to write it down on a sheet of paper because that's how you can always go to your Google Sites. For me and for our team, we use Google Sites a lot. So you're going to see a list of all kinds of websites that we have built already. But if you're just starting, that section below may be empty. You're just going to see a first option to start a blank website, almost like a blank document, or also some templates that you can use to build a new website. I'm going to start blank just to show you very briefly that it's not very complicated when you get into it, because the system uses a visual editor. So it will tell you, this is your first page. This is going to be your home page because you're just starting. So our homepage had a welcome message, a link to information and so on. This is where we came and we built it. On the left, I see blank space with a title on top. And that's where I can decide on a new title, add a picture if I want, add images and text. And I will use the section on the right to do that. So I can click on insert and insert all kinds of things into this page. I'm just going to show you that I can do text if I want to, or I can do images if I want to. I can upload them or select from a selection. So I'm just going to really quickly go in here and find one that I may want to do. This is one that we'll be discussing a bit later because I had it saved. So I can bring images from my computer and insert them here. I can resize them if I want to, so they will be bigger. And as I'm resizing, you will see horizontal lines. Those lines are my guides to help me organize the content. I can also move the content to the left, to the right. And as I'm moving it, you will see a blue line showing to guide me and tell me where is it going to drop it. Is it going to be next to the text? Is it going to be above the text? It's important because depending when you drop it, the system will sometimes reorganize or resize all that content. If you're not happy with that, you can undo. So there's many different ways in which you can bring in your text, your images, and lay it out on the page. That's the beauty of it, visual editor, and you can work with all of those. That's how we added our images, our forms into it, and so on. Now, if you notice, this is the image right in the center, and when I'm moving my mouse over it, it's blue, but also this big blue box around it highlights. This big blue box is called a section. This is an image, and this is a text box. So when you differentiate that between them, you could actually have all images and text grouped together in one section. So now this entire content here is one section with text and box in it. What's nice is on the left, I have tools that allow me to replicate it. So now I have two of those if I wanted to replicate this content. Maybe not, I'm going to undo and I'm back to my page. There is no save button. As with other Google products, you're not really saving. The system is saving it for you, but it's not publishing it to make it live and visible to others. There's a publish button, and that's where Trish and other users who decide how they're going to share their website make a decision. Do I publish the site and make it public? Or do I publish it and maybe make it only visible to those that sign in? That's where you can make all those decisions. So if I clicked publish, it was going to ask me, what address do you want for it? Because I did not give my site a name. So I'm just going to say Monica Test. I can always delete or hide the site. And also, in this case, it's telling me only AlphaPlus team is going to see it, which is okay with me. I don't want to make it fully public. But if I wanted to, I can go in and manage it. And I can say, for links, who can see all that, draft, AlphaPlus team can see that, or when it's published, I can change it and say public. So that's where Trish could go in and actually say, this site is public now and anyone can see it. Johanna's website is public, and that's where she made that selection and choice, and those who go to the address will see it. So I'm going to just say, if it's published, it's going to be public. So now anyone will see it. And basically for you to access this site, I will need to give you a specific address. So I can go in a few ways to do that. I can invite you to the site by sending you an email with the invitation, or I can go to the link. And if I go to the link, I can copy this link and share it with you as well. Another way to do that, which sometimes I like to see, is click on this link, probably publish site link, and this will give me the address. So notice the full address for the site. It will end at the Monica Test. Home is the very first page we just created. Messy for now, just a screen capture, a few things added, not much there, but you can come in and add all kinds of content to it. So again, a lot of developers who build their sites, all our instructors, programs, when they're building that, they're using pages and content on the right for inserting to actually build this website. This platform and tool is the same for any website you will build. So you go to sites, you create pages, you publish your website, deciding who can access it, and you start using it. Questions for this very quick overview so far? All right. You can use the chat if you would like to ask those questions, or just unmute yourself.
So you can just start with a like blank page, and then you just go pages, and you're ready to go.
Exactly.
And there's no charge for this.
There is no charge for this. This is part of your Google account. So whether you have a regular Gmail account, if you go to sites.google.com, it will come up. Or if you have organizational account like ours, we have AlphaPlus in the name because we are using organizational Gmail accounts. But in both cases, Sites is available to you. And really when it started, the way at least I think of that is teachers who were using Classroom and other accounts with Google, they wanted content where they can actually build content for their learners, a bit of information, links, and so on. And Google started adding that to the package. So now you have this app, Google Sites, and you can build your own websites for free. Google hosts it for you as part of your Gmail account. And the beauty, one login, because you're signed in with your Gmail account. So it's really nice to do. So now
I can put your AlphaPlus link there, and I can put Johanna's link there, as long as they're public web links, right?
Yes, so then others can find it. If you want to keep it private, only those you give access to will see it. The way Trish is keeping it closed with her students. But Johanna opened it up and it's public. You choose. You can do it both ways. Now let me show you something else. If I go to pages, so this is our one of the pages we just put in. I'm going to go to pages, and you will see it just has one because I only created one. But I can click on the plus symbol and add a new page. The way I showed you, I had sessions afterwards and a flyer, or I can add the link, and that link will just point to another website. So if I create a new page, I'm going to say courses as just an example, or maybe reading activities, because I know many of you organize things that way, activities. And I'm going to say done. It's going to open a new page for me. And on the right, you can see it just added it as a list. Now, if I wanted to have another page for reading activities that were maybe a bit more level 1, you may not organize it this way, but just for now. And then I wanted to have another page for level 2. I'm just creating very quickly all kinds of new pages and adding them to my website. Level 2, there we go. And let me refresh because my page just froze for a second. It will organize them in the menu alongside each other, just because I have been adding them here. So, of course, the system is freezing a bit, but I have now home, reading activities, and level 1. If I wanted the level 1 to be under reading activities as a subpage, I can just drag this and lay it right over reading activities. Let go. And now notice I have a drop-down menu. So remember I said pages. I just took a page and told it you're sitting underneath reading activities. So the system took that and created a sub page for me. But each of those is a separate page. Okay. Now we had a question today, and the question was, how do I hide pages? So let's say the level 1 was really for me, just so that I know what kind of activities I want to give to my level 1 learners. This is the page. It's empty, but I could come in, click on insert, and add links, resources, text, whatever I want to hear. Just the way Trish organized her content, she brought links to the website, put her own notes into it. She would be using her links and text content to add content in here. But now, if I go to pages, I want to hide this page. I don't want it to be even here. I don't want anyone to see it but me. What I can do on the right side under pages, I go to that specific page I want to hide, click on the snowman menu or kebab menu or 3-dot menu, click on that. And one of the options here is hide from navigation. If I do that, there will be 2 things. Notice in the menu, it's not there anymore. So it's not visible to regular website visitors. And on the pages, it has a line across to tell me this page is not really visible. What that actually means, this page still exists. If I went to this page, knowing the link, the address for it from the top, it will still be there, but it's not visible to other people. They will get to it though, if they guess the address. So just keep that in mind. Because Trish keeps her site locked to only visitors, her learners, she's not really opening it up to anyone who could actually guess or try to break into the site. And it's not that they will break in, they will just see that page potentially because it was public. And because her page is closed, it's only visible to her and potentially her learners if they guess what's the page address for it. So just so you know, but this is how simple it is to hide pages when you are in Google Sites. So you can work on them, you can add content to them, but they're not visible to anybody else but you for now, okay? So that's hiding the pages. There's two more things I wanted to show you. When you're building and working with the websites, the next question for Trish was, could you share the page and content? And Trish could, she doesn't have to, of course, but she could do that. How would she share a page without actually giving access to her original page and not having to redo all that? In Google Sites, you can copy pages or websites. So not only specific pages that we have right now, but the full website, you can replicate it and create a new website from it. So that way, Trish could actually make a copy of the site and share that with somebody else so they have access to it and they can work with it and explore it without affecting her original site. So I want to show you, if I click in the top left corner, it takes me back all the way to my website. It's almost like my landing page or my dashboard where I have all sites that I have built or accessed in the past. So let's say I went back to this page and wanted to now copy it so that you could actually access it and work with that as well. I can open it again if that's the way to, if we want to do that, it will be another page. And in the menu, right on top, when I look at the menu on top, we have again the snowman menu, 3-dot menu. One of the options is to duplicate the site. As soon as I will click it, Google will basically say, oh, you want another copy of this website? We'll do it for you. And it's going to send you a message when it replicates the site. If the site is small, it will just take a few minutes. If it's big, it may take a bit longer. But basically, I can click duplicate the site. The system tells me this is going to make a copy for you. It will call it copy of untitled site, or I can call it somewhere else. And I will end up with a new separate site from the original. So I'm going to just keep it as it is, just so you can see that when it will finish, I will have two new sites. One will be just untitled, and one of them will be the new one. So if I go back again in the top left corner to go to my sites, assuming it will do it very quickly, now I will have two. I will have the original and I'll have a copy. So that way I do not have to give you all the content. I can go to the copy, take out some stuff, and then just give you access to specific content. If Trish wanted to do that, just an idea. This is just to show you that you may have multiple sites or websites for different purposes, and you do not have to build them from scratch every time. You can repurpose them for your own needs, okay? One more thing to show you. If you go in and you're playing with your content, sometimes it's tricky because you are building a page, you organize this, and now you realize, oh, I really don't want this here. I want it on the second page. But how do I take all this from this page and move it to a different page on my website or even on a different website? What Google has done is, remember when I said you have sections, it actually will allow you to copy and paste sections from one page or website to another. So the one thing I need to do just to make sure this works is to make sure that I click not on the text box. This is the text box with different things on it. I need to make sure my section is selected. And sometimes it's tricky. Like you can see me clicking, and only when I go close to the edge, the section gets highlighted. So this blue box going all the way to the edges, that's a section. And what I can do is click Control-C for copy on my computer. Sometimes right-clicking and then Control-Copy here will show up, but not always. So I just use a shortcut, Control-Copy. And if I go somewhere below, let's say, and click Paste, it just duplicated the page. If I go to a new page, like reading activities, and do Control V, so keyboard shortcuts, it's pasting it. So you're not stuck with just one page and having to redo it over and over. You can replicate content by copying your sections from one page to another, or from one website to another website as well. So we looked at very quickly how to start a Google site. We looked at adding pages. We looked at sections versus text boxes, and also how to duplicate websites. Those are some of the tips that I wanted to share with you because they can be very helpful as you're using and navigating your potentially new Google sites you may be building. And I'm going to open it to the floor to see if you have any questions, like anything you have questions about. If not, I will give you a few extra tips, okay? And I haven't had a chance to look at the chat. So if somebody is following the chat and wants to say to me what may be a good tip or discussion for next, that would be very helpful.
So Monica, are you able to put a link for your like an Instagram account?
Yes, that's a really good question. So there's two ways to do that. Let's say I wanted to put an icon in here for Instagram. There's two ways to do that. I can bring an image for Instagram. So let's see, I can upload it or I can select it. If I select it, the system will kind of look for, do you have any Google images or things like that? And because I have been doing a lot of those websites, I actually do have some shortcuts here. If you don't, you can just upload an image for Instagram. Let's see if I have Instagram. I do have a lot, but I don't know if I have Instagram here. Let's say I wanted to use one of those. So I'll insert it. So now I only have an image that I can resize. I can just make it a tiny bit smaller. Now, notice it just kind of became weird because the shape changed. It's not exactly what I want. This tool right here, this a cropping tool is your best friend. All those tools on top will help you, but this one is going to say, oh, you didn't want it to crop, so I'm just going to resize it for you. So now it's the beautiful shape I want, and I can move it around. I'll put it in the center, and the second step will be, I have the image, I need to link this image to my Instagram account, right? Yes. Because I need to point it. So bear with me. I'm going to go to AlphaPlus because that's potentially going to be easier. AlphaPlus Instagram, just to get the link for you, just to show you. So I'll just try to find our AlphaPlus Instagram link. And it's going to give me our account, but I can just copy whatever I have on top. Copy that. I'm using a shortcut Control-C for copy. I'm going to come back to this site, come back to my image, and one of the other tools in here is insert link. So you can link text to different websites, to documents, but you can also insert links for images. So your image becomes a button or link for something else. So if I do that, I'll just paste my link here, apply, and now this button is linkable. Let me show you what it will look like if I actually have the site fully published. This is my very, very quick interactive page for today. We are on the page called Reading Activities. I brought that text from another page and we did the Instagram. See, if I move my mouse over it and click on it, it's going to take me to Instagram. So I use similar functionality you would use in Word, where you can do hyperlinks and you can link images and text to something else. Is that making sense?
Yes, and so we can do the same for Facebook as well, right?
Exactly. Twitter, Facebook, websites, anything you want. Any image can be used as a hyperlink to something else. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Other questions?
Can you hear me, Monica?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because my mute and unmute is hiding something screen and I can't see really whether you can listen to me. Now, I was trying to probably work simultaneously on my site. And for example, if you have selected a section, the layout where it has got two sections.
Yeah.
Can you just click on the layout?
Let me just go back to the editing mode so you can see it.
Yeah. So the second one, which is on the layout, I used that. And then I said, okay, I don't want the second section. So I deleted probably, I don't know whether I can use the annotation tool. Yes. So I used this one and then I deleted this one.
Okay.
Right. And now I again thought that I want this, but I'm not able to bring this back because it's a blank section, which I really want to cover it. So
So let me
probably.
see, let me just recreate. So thank you, Smita, for using the tools in Zoom. Can you check out? This is awesome. You're using those tools. Okay,
I
so
always use this with my learners to give instructions and walk them through when they are sharing their screen and they don't know how to display things for me to see.
Okay, this is perfect. Okay, so let me just clarify. You clicked on the layout and the layout brought this kind of content where you have two images next to each other. And then you can also add text. And at some point you deleted this one.
Yes.
And
now
then
there's
now
a blank
you,
space. Yeah.
Now you have a blank space. Would you want to bring this one back here, or would you want to add something else in here?
I try to bring this, increase the size of the first section, but then the image does not, it's distorted image. If you don't mind, I can share the screen if you want, probably showing you it's not happening.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So I'm just going to see, in the meantime, as you're sharing this. So why don't you share the screen just to show us, then we can give you a tip on how to fix that. I think this tip will be great for everybody else as well, mainly because this is resizing images and shifting images as well. So Smita, are you able to share the screen or no?
It has disabled, so you got to enable me.
Yeah, so just give me 1 second. I'm going to make you a co-presenter and that will allow you the screen sharing.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Right. And Lisa, in the meantime, thank you so much for suggesting our coaching services. We always learn with the program. So when we started working together a few years ago and then exploring things,
I think it's
I learned so much from you. Okay, Smita, so let's just give us a second. Yeah, it's loading.
The pages, I'm on the first page. Yes, this one. So this section, I put the virtual field trip. I think I had section 1. Now it's a blank. I'm trying to pull this sorry.
Yeah,
I'm trying to do this and that it's just getting distorted, right?
Okay.
So I have to change the original image. I need to bring it in full size maybe and then do it.
No, so here, this is a really good question. So what you're doing right now.
I got stuck with this,
Yeah, so there's a few things. First of all, you have an image.
Okay,
with the
shall I stop sharing?
No, leave it. I'm going to ask you to change something. If you click on the image itself, just click with your mouse on the image.
Okay.
Click one more time on the image.
Okay.
Notice how the box right now has changed and only is around the image.
Yeah.
So here's the difference. Let me just, try that.
Crop, okay.
See? So
I used this earlier on, but still cannot adjust resize this. I just wanted this hidden section from on the right hand side to display.
Is the image full? Like it has more than that?
I think I may have it full in my actually saved document, but I must have cropped it.
Possibly. There is one more tip you need to know about, and this is actually important. Notice you have your image together with Google Virtual Trips text that's underneath. So see, now you separated them, but when you combine them together, when you put your text underneath, they both kind of almost like group together and they take each other's size. So sometimes that can actually resize your image or resize your text because Google is trying to group it. That's why they suggest sections. If you put everything in one section under the other, they shift sizing. If you put the Google Virtual Trips in a new section, not in the same one, but in a new section, it will have its own size and the image will stay its own size.
Okay, so I have done use the top section for the image and the second section for the actual to the link and also that's what you're saying? Okay.
Yes. So that will help with the shifting of images, but your image itself, when you click that cropping tool, which is the second icon with the squares, if that doesn't help, that basically tells me this is the size of your image. So potentially at some point it got cropped.
Okay, probably I need to go and check my original image or probably, okay.
Exactly. Now, if you wanted to recreate the layout for the gray box on the right, you wanted to bring another image or something, you could just bring another image, size it to shape and then organize it.
Okay, let me go to the original, the way it was.
So one thing with Google Sites and working in this content
so if I want to bring a new section here, what do I need to do?
You can just bring a new image. So you do insert image. So on the right side where you have the tool, insert image.
Images, okay. And upload, okay.
Yeah, and then you can just place it next to this one because you can drag your images and content around, right?
Oh, into this, okay.
Yeah, so you can do it that way.
I can just using the annotation tool one more time. So I can go insert images and then upload and then it will automatically, I can drag it here.
Yes, it will usually, when you upload the image, it will show below where you are, but you can drag it up to place it in that specific box or square you have available.
Okay, but I can't insert like a small original section, which was like this before, that I can't do it, right?
No, because think of it this way, the layouts are your templates. So they're kind of
Okay.
prefixed, but as soon as you start shifting and resizing it, it will just not
Okay.
come back because you made changes to it. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Very good question. Thank you for
Thank
sharing that, Smita, and you can stop sharing your
welcome.
screen.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to pause for a second and check. We are 3:53. I'm going to jump back to our slides just to show you, and let me just kind of reorganize some of our content and share the screen to make sure that we don't miss anything. Okay, so we covered the organization of the pages. So we see that on the slide here. Organizing the pages. It is important if you understand the pages and how they're kind of laid back. For me, that visual image of pages being next to each other or under each other really helps to manage my content and how the sections are organized. It's really important, and I hope it will help you. Copying sections is that big box around, the bigger box. The one inside is a text box. So not that one. You always want to copy a section, not a text box. You could do the text box too, but it's just kind of like small pieces at a time, where section allows you to copy a bigger chunk of page altogether. Copying duplicated sites, fairly easy. You go to the snowman menu and then you duplicate the page, which creates a separate website for you. And finally, hiding pages, we cover that as well. I'm not going to jump into the spreadsheet that Leo did because I think we want to have a bit more information for you. But if you're interested in figuring out how that's done, I think we're going to do a quick demo for you. So Leo and I will build a sample of a spreadsheet that we will share and a quick video with that on how it was done. Or if you prefer, we can do a demo together as a small group, but we are not going to do it today because we need more context from Leo to make sure we all understand those formulas he inserted into the system. So on the slides you will get from us, you will see a bit of filters that you can apply in Google Sheets, but it's nowhere near to what Leo has done with his document. So I don't want to spend much time on that because we will make it even better for you. All right. And now, as we are getting closer to the end, we want to thank you for your time, for spending some extra time with us with the questions about technology. And then we really invite you to join us for the fourth last session, which will be on September 14th from 1:30 to 4 p.m. And that one will be more about learning management systems. So really courses, and then building much more comprehensive content for your learners as well. And before we wrap up, I just want to remind you that we really want your feedback. It means a lot to us. And afterwards, within a day or two, we will be sharing this recording, resources with you, the slides that were shared as well. And for participating in our sessions today, you're going to get our achievement badge. It's going to be AlphaPlus Resource Curator because you're curating resources together. So please participate, share, join. We really love to have you here. And with that, I'm going to start wrapping up and then see if there is any other questions or feedback you have for us. If not, we really thank you for joining us today. All right, let me stop sharing the screen. That way we will see a bit more. All right. Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, everyone. And thank you to our interpreters and presenters who joined us today. We always learned a lot and it's always exciting. Yay.
Thank you so much again. I always learn so much at each of these, so most appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right.
Okay, I was, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
Now, I was filling the feedback from halfway through, so I'll complete it straight away.
Okay, perfect. Don't forget about the feedback forms. They're important.
Absolutely.
All right, Alethea, Tracy, anything else to add? Tracy, thank you so much for monitoring our chat, putting out the links and everything. It really helps as you're running and you kind of coordinating everything at the same time. And Alithia, amazing hosting, a lot of great feedback and suggestions from everybody. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the presentations and the sharing and the discussion and the interpretation as well. Thanks for keeping up with our interactive back and forth. So much appreciated. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So we're going to turn off our recording. Where is it? Right here.